Good evening, everybody. My name is Steve Knutson, and I'm with Fairfax County's Department of Transportation, and I want to welcome you to this meeting tonight to discuss the traffic calming plan for Huntsman Boulevard. And we can begin with introductions. And tonight from FCDOT, we have Ryan O'Carroll, sorry about that, and Nicole Machakwe. And from the Springfield District Supervisor's Office, we have Pete Knox. Nicole has a short presentation to go through, and after the presentation, we will open the meeting up to community questions and comments. And if any of the community task force members are logged on to tonight's meeting, they can introduce themselves following the presentation. So Peyton, do you have anything you'd like to add before we start?
Just that Supervisor Harity is always going to support whatever the community wants to do.
All right. Looks like we only have two people on board right now, Nicole, but hopefully somebody else will join in while we're going through your presentation. And if you are ready, you can go ahead and take it away.
Thanks, Steve. Okay, well, welcome in. As Steve said, we are here to discuss the traffic calming plan for Huntsman Boulevard. So please note that this session is being recorded and may be shared on social media. Please hold all questions to the end of the presentation, and instructions on how to ask your question will be provided at the end of the presentation. So we are here today to explain the traffic calming process, provide community feedback, and answer any questions that you all might have. And so let's begin with what is traffic calming. Traffic calming is the installation of physical devices to reduce vehicle speed. These devices can be either vertical or horizontal. Vertical devices are driven over, such as a speed hump, as you can see in the upper left-hand image, while you drive around horizontal devices, such as a raised median island, as you can see in the upper right-hand image. Both types of devices make the road safer for drivers and pedestrians. I would like to note that through this process, we are not permitted to install stop signs. So here we are showing charts and images showing the decreased speed or the effects of decreased speed. As speed decreases, visual acuity, field of vision, and depth perception increase. Also, with reduced speed, we see a decrease in stopping distance and crash risk. Here is a map showing the traffic calming projects throughout Fairfax County. There are over 266 projects resulting in more than 600 devices installed countywide. Every district has a device, so chances that you've driven over one are very high. And also like to note that FCDOT and the District Supervisor's Office collaborate with citizens on all of these community-initiated projects. So the upcoming program can be broken up into 5 steps. Step number 1 is project installation. Step number 2 is plan development. Step number 3 is community engagement. Step number 4 is ballot phase. And step number 5 is project installation, which that's the final step. Now moving to step number 1, to break it down, as I stated, all traffic calming projects are always community initiated. The process begins with the request from the community to the supervisor, our supervisor's office. Once that request is received, FCDOT will first complete a basic eligibility review. Then we will conduct a traffic study. Once the subject road passes both eligibility review and traffic study, the community will then form a task force. There are qualification criteria that needs to be met for eligibility requirements. So we need VDOT, or the road to be VDOT maintained, have a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit, be functionally classified as local, collector, or arterial. And if it's a collector or arterial, it needs to be a residential street. Once we pass the basic eligibility requirements, we move on to conducting a traffic study. For the volume criteria, we need between 500 and 6,000 vehicles in 24 hours, both directions combined. So for Huntsman Boulevard, we had 2,265, so we met the volume criteria. For the speed criteria, the recorded 85th percentile speed needs to be greater than or equal to 35 miles per hour. So what this means is that 15% of the vehicles need to be traveling 35 miles per hour or faster in at least one direction of travel. So for Huntsman Boulevard, the 85th percentile in the in the northbound lane was 38, and in the southbound lane it was 42. So we met the speed criteria as well. So after completing that step number 1, we move to plan development, which is the second step. First, FCDOT will conduct a site visit in the field in order to develop a draft plan. Once a draft plan has been developed, FCDOT will meet with the task force to obtain feedback and amend the plan if necessary. Once the task force is satisfied with the draft plan, homeowners directly adjacent to any proposed measure will need to sign off on the placement of the device in order to move forward to the next step. There are device placement requirements for typical vertical devices. We need a minimum of 300 feet between measures and existing stopping conditions. We need a minimum of 150 feet from any intersection. We need a minimum of 150 feet for continuous sight distance with any device, and it needs to fit on the existing roadways, so we have to take into account of any driveways, manholes, or utilities. We also have to count for the grade of the road. So based on the available options and site visit, FCDOT can propose a 3-speed hump and one 2-way choker on Huntsman Boulevard. The addresses listed on the blue boxes are the ones that signed off on the adjacent property form, since the devices are directly adjacent to their homes. Here we have a schematic for a 2-way choker. As you can see that we have 2 lanes, and then we have the choker. What it's designed to do is to narrow that lane as drivers are passing through. Here we have an image showing the 2-way choker. It's an example that's installed within the Fairfax County. And here we have the conceptual plan for the 2-way choker. As you can see that it's going to go on Huntsman Boulevard on the northern end. Here we have a schematic for a speed hump. The speed hump is 12 feet long and 3 inches high at center. There will be white chevrons in each travel lane and a speed hump sign with a recommended speed of 15 miles per hour on either side of the device will be installed with the speed hump. So moving on to step number 3, the community meeting, which is where we're here today. This is where FCDOT presents the plan to the community to obtain feedback. Based on that feedback, the task force will decide whether they want to amend the plan or proceed to the next phase. If the task force decides to move forward, we can then move forward to ballot phase. So step number 4, each household in the ballot area will receive 1 vote and sends it directly to the supervisor's office. The ballot time period will be open for a minimum of 3 weeks. And once that has 3 weeks has passed, the supervisor's office will tally the votes and notify the task force of the results. Here we have an example of a ballot. The proposed devices will be listed on the ballot and the community will be voting on the entire plan. The task force is responsible for distributing the ballot packages to everyone in the ballot area. There are 3 ways to return your ballot by the deadline. 1, you can mail your ballot directly into the supervisor's office. 2, you can hand deliver it directly to the supervisor's office. And 3, you can email it directly to the supervisor's office. Ballots should not be returned to the task force, so please use one of the 3 methods listed above. Here we have the ballot area map for Huntsman Boulevard. We have 306 ballots. In order for the proposed plan to move forward, we will need greater than 50% of all households to vote in favor. So for Huntsman Boulevard to move forward, we will need 154 yes votes. So if we get the required number of yes votes, and we can move forward to step number 5, which is project installation. The traffic calming plan will be presented to Fairfax County Board of Supervisors for endorsement, and a resolution will be sent to VDOT. Once endorsed and VDOT accepts the resolution, we will work with the Department of Public Works and Environmental Services to schedule installation. And finally, the traffic calming plan will be installed. So moving on to next steps for the task force. After tonight's meeting, the task force will need to follow these steps. So 1, the task force determines and notifies Fairfax County if they want to move forward with the plan that was presented this evening. Number 2, the task force and supervisor's office will decide and notify FCDOT if the ballots in the ballot area are to be distributed to the homeowners or occupants. 3, the task force will receive the ballot cover letter and will complete the form as directed by FCDOT. 4, the task force sends the completed ballot cover letter to FCDOT for approval. Once approved, they will receive the verified ballot package. And 5, the final step will be the task force and will need to print and distribute all ballots to all homes within that ballot area. So this concludes the presentation for tonight's meeting. We can move on to questions and answers. So once the chat is activated, you have 2 options to chat or speak. I'm sorry. Once the chat item is activated on Teams, you can type in your question. And if you want to speak, please raise your hand and the raise hand icon so that you will be unmuted once it is your turn. If you do, please note that we are kind of having a little issues with that acceptance. So if you do choose to speak, please make sure that all pop-up blockers on your browser are turned off. And if you have your microphone connected and turned on. The host will send you an allow notification to be unmuted. Please click allow to allow your mic to be unmuted. We will send you the unmute request twice, so 2 times, before we will you will be asked to write your question in the chat. And if you are calling by phone, please push *5 to raise your hand. When it is your turn, the host will call on you to ask your question. You need to push *6 to unmute your mic, and after you finish, please push *5 to unraise your hand. Okay, and that's it for me. Steve, if you want to go to the questions and answers.
Okay. And we can and we will send this presentation to Peyton Ox, and she'll have it available for the task force for them to be able to go through the slides whenever they choose to. If they would like to see it, they would just need to request that slide deck from Peyton, and she'll be able to send it to you. And we still only have 2 people on tonight, so I think we'll probably need to have that presentation distributed pretty well for community members.
So it looks like we have one question from Catherine. where she said if we are able to get all the votes we need to pass the plan, about how long can we expect before installation? Thank you.
It would probably be after the ballot process, another 4 to 6 months. So if we do move along, without any stoppage between now and the ballot process, it would probably be sometime in the spring of 2025. And also, if you do want to go drive over a speed hump to see what it's like, there is one on is it Spur Road, Peyton, just off of Huntsman, between Rockefeller Lane and Huntsman Boulevard on Spur Road.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I do believe that's the closest one.
The most recent one there, on the other end of the Huntsman Boulevard, close to 286, is Golden Ball Tavern Court, I think, that was just most recently installed.
Yep, that's right.
But there are a mixture of humps and speed tables there, so. Then I think we do only have 2 chokers installed throughout the county, and neither one of them are terribly close. There is a very, and they're both pretty old too. I think one is on Memorial Street between South Kings Highway and Kings Landing, I believe is the name of the street. And then there's one on Viking Drive off of Ruston Parkway over in the Herndon Ruston area.
Right. Looks like we have another comment from the chat here from Katie. She said, I don't have mic access, but really appreciate the presentation. If I can get this slide deck, I can put it on our HOA Facebook group, and Catherine can get it on the website. It looks like it's up to us to get the votes.
Yes. So it does seem like there's, a number of tasks for the task force to do after this meeting. And obviously the first thing you want to do is reconvene as a task force and determine if you want to go ahead and go to the ballot phase. And if you do, then you do need to make a decision on if you want to have those ballots go to the homeowners or to the occupants. You would probably want to have a discussion with Peyton Knox about that. And once that is determined, then we will distribute the information, the files that you'll need to modify for that ballot process.
And also, as I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, this is being recorded. So within a week or so, we should be able to have this recording available to the public. So once it's all ready, I'll send it to Peyton, and then you guys can just request or have the community members request a copy of that recorded presentation for it. At the end of this presentation, you should receive, if you joined in registering under your email, you should receive the recording via email. Unfortunately, I do not believe it's shareable at that point outside of the network. So outside of anybody that's actually registered in to view the meeting this evening. So that's why it's going to take us a week to get that recording to Peyton.
It looks like we got a couple comments from Katie and Catherine. She said thank you, Katie, and then also Catherine said thank you as well. We'll get the task force together ASAP and be back in touch. And then Katie followed up with, I don't have anything else if Catherine doesn't.
Okay. Yeah, this is going to be one of the quickest meetings that we've had. If you all don't feel that you have any other questions or comments to make, we can go ahead and close down for the evening. Peyton, do you have anything else that you would like to add?
I do not.
Okay. And, those locations that we had mentioned are probably the closest for you to go drive over a speed hump. Or if you want to venture out and see what it's like driving through that choker, I believe the one in Ruston is on Viking Drive, just off of Ruston Parkway, over in the South Ruston, Herndon area. And then the other one is on Memorial Street, just between South Kings Highway and I think it's Kings Landing. And that is over in the South Alexandria portion of Fairfax County. If you want to go drive through that device to see what it's like, or if you want to point any of your neighbors to those locations so they can drive through it also. So as we said earlier, we will get out this slide deck to Peyton. She'll be able to send it out to you all. You can share it with the platforms that you have available to share with your community. Then hopefully after you've discussed with the other task force members, if you want to go forward, we will get the templates for the ballot process out to you. So I think that might be it for tonight. Nicole, anything else? Ryan? Okay.
I can't
right,
think of
Peyton.
anything.
Peyton, Catherine, and Katie, I think we're going to go ahead and close down for tonight. And we do want to thank you all for spending your time here listening to us tonight, discussing this plan and process.
Absolutely. Have a good night, everyone.
All right, Peyton, you too. Good
Bye-bye.
Have a
night.
good night, everyone.
Have a good night.